Good evening and welcome to the Town of Acton Selectmen's meeting for December 6, 2012. First item on the agenda, salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
I move we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Seconded.
All in favor? Yep. Approval of the agenda is not on there, so I'd like to add that. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with adding approval of the agenda.
Second.
What are you adding?
Approving the agenda, because it's not in there. Number 5.
Yep.
Okay.
It should be one.
Yeah. Okay, it should be 1.
See, one
Oh, yeah, there's no
isn't
1. Okay. So item number 1 will be approval of the agenda.
Okay.
Okay? No old business. New business, opening the bids for the financing of the fire truck. The first one is from Whitey Myers, Whitey at leasing2.com. Michelle, thanks for asking us to respond to your financing RFP, but we are unable to respond due to a computer problem that caused a failure to remind me to send our response to you in time. Please keep us in mind for your future financing needs you might have. KeyBank. Dear Ms. Rumney, in response to your request for proposals for the town to borrow funds for the purpose of purchasing a fire truck, KeyBank National Association is pleased to offer the town of Acton the following quotation to borrow up to $271,000 in a term loan. For a term of 5 years, we offer a rate of 1.78. Calculated on an actual 360-day basis, repayment would require 60 monthly payments of principal and interest of approximately $4,727 payable on the first day of each month starting on January 1st, 2013. There will be no prepayment penalty. We don't need a brief history of KeyBank, I don't think. Do I give you these, or give them to Lorraine, or back?
I only need the quote, that's all.
Okay, well, that's the quote. All right, this is SIS. Dear Michelle, it is a pleasure to inform you that the Town of Acton's request for a $271,000 5-year term loan has been approved. The commitment for financing issued by Sanford Institute for Savings, the bank, is subject to the following terms and conditions outlined below for your review and acceptance. Borrower, Town of Acton, loan amount $271,000, purpose, purchase a municipal fire truck. The rate of interest on the note will be 2.45%, based on an actual 360-day year. This rate is dependent upon the fact that the Town of Acton is eligible to receive tax-exempt financing for this transaction, and the bank is able to rely upon the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the Town of Acton for repayment. Maturity shall be 5 years from the date of the closing. Monthly payments will be $4,807.67, or annual payments of $57,692.04 until maturity, when all principal and interest is due. This loan may be prepaid anytime without penalty. Andrew Scoggin Bank. Dear Treasurer Rumney, in response to financing the RFP recently received from your office, we are pleased to offer a tax-exempt fixed note rate of 2.78%. Per annum for the lump sum borrowing of $271,000. From the RFP, we understanding the town desires to close and have funds available on or about December 14, 2012, and wishes to repay them via monthly principal and interest installments over a loan term not exceeding 5 years. The RFP states that the payments are to be due on the first of each month, and the total of payments made in the first year cannot exceed $59,891. A standard loan amortization program results in initial payment of interest only on the desired initial installment date 1/1/13. The initial full principal and interest payment would occur in the following month of 2/1/13 and result in a final payment date of 1/1/18, 1 month beyond the 5-year maximum loan term stated in the RFP. I have attached an amortization schedule. Pursuant to the RFP, interest will be calculated on a 360-day basis on the note, which will be issued without prepayment penalty. So they didn't give us a monthly payment unless it's on the next page. Yeah, I don't see a monthly payment. Okay?
Yep.
That's it? All right, so we have Key Bank at 1.78% interest. We have SIS at 2.45% interest, and we have Androscoggin Bank at 2.78% interest. Do I hear a motion?
For what? To accept?
Which one do you want?
I make a motion that we accept the Key Bank offer at 1.78% for 5 years.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Michelle, do you have anything to say?
No one.
Go with the low?
Save, the more money we can save.
Okay, so the motion is to go with Key Bank at 1.78% interest. All in favor? Key Bank has the bid.
Lorraine, could I have Key Bank back so I can send that to Leah tonight?
Now, how long are we looking at before we'll have,
We'll have the financial paperwork from Leah, probably beginning of the week,
okay,
and then we'll close, anticipated closing would be the 14th next week, so by Friday.
okay. And you're the only one that has to sign that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, CEO report on building repairs. Mr. Paul.
Do you guys want to put me last for the slideshow and take care of your other stuff? We'll move things around a little, or how much more you got?
All we got is to sign this and make announcements.
I need to put my projector with you guys. I don't know if you want to turn there or...
On your way?
Yeah. I forgot how bad it was.
We lost the original camera during construction, so it didn't make it through, so we had to find what we could for before photos. This was the side here that we mainly focused on here. The first thing we did was take a look at why the roof was leaking. We thought it was just a simple repair up through the ventilation for the PVC, but it became more than that. None of the paint was sticking on the building. It's been painted numerous times, and it just wasn't sticking at all. There's a moisture issue coming through the walls. It's got a lot of sun on that one side. It gets a lot of abuse. The pine clapboards, when they were installed, was a smooth side out. The rough absorbs a lot more, but it looks a little bit more rougher. This is an after on the windows. One of the bigger problems we had is down on the bottom, there was no weep hole. Once water got inside, whether the window was left open or what, Condensation built up, it had no way to get out from underneath. So when we took the wooden storm windows off, we cut off the bottom and allowed drainage to come out of those. It took me a little while to realize why the wood storm windows were on. They're an energy-efficient thermal pane window themselves, but the wood storm windows really are just to prevent the environment from beating at the windows. They're not for energy efficient. They're just to save the existing wood windows from the constant abuse of the weather. So once we got the windows off, they were screwed in place. Now we've got hangers on them. If I can back up one. Now we've got just a couple of hangers on it. We unclip from inside, pull it right off. It comes off within 4 or 5 seconds. Really easy to get off now. Prior to that, they were screwed in 3 or 4 locations, so you couldn't get the things off. But at least now that we can take them off real easily. One of the problems was, as soon as all that water got inside, it just ate away at the corners here. I think there was 7 or 8 sills that we had to replace throughout. Without taking those windows off, the wood storm windows, we really couldn't tell what we were into in the beginning, and I think that's what scared away a lot of the contractors from bidding on it, because unless you bid to protect yourself, they would have lost their shirt, or there would have been a lot of change orders on this project and without having the funds available. But all of it was just chewed right away. We went through and marked them all with orange paints, which ones had to been replaced and changed. The water was just seeping right through, and you can see it on the house wrap where it's all stained from it. These roofs were added probably 10 years ago or so, and that's also helping to get water onto the back and behind the side and all through. Some of the bad areas was right here that it was rotted, and the same thing over in this area here, right down into there, was just gone beyond use. You can see the rot right through there. It's barely, the plywood barely just staying as it was. We noticed all the plywood was stapled on with a stapler when they originally did the construction, and you can see the staples run parallel with the grain of the plywood, so that really wasn't doing good. Had they turned the staples the other way, it would have grabbed the fibers better and held more. But the staples is an approved method of construction, but mostly just in the modular industry, they use the staples. Everyone else is using nails. So on the sides and the roof, once we stripped it down, we re-nailed all the plywood with a galvanized nail. The same thing over here is, this is on the left-hand side of the door where that whole area was just rotted right out. The studs were also somewhat deteriorated also, but they were good enough to leave in place. Adequate enough. That was one of the luckiest days on job that we didn't cut any of the wires that's in behind all the area. The repair, the budget was $25,000. It was a labor-intense project. There wasn't a lot of materials. Labor was $11,500. Supplies were $6,400, still leaving a balance of around $7,000.
And that's from the $25,000
That's from the
loan.
25.
Right.
Correct.
So that $7,000 will go back to the bank.
Or keep fixing windows that are still in here. So, I mean,
Okay.
that's up to you guys. We can talk about that towards
Yeah,
the end.
if there's more work to be done. You're talking about on this building?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the only thing I have left for the other windows would be screens that aren't in now. All the sills themselves are what they call, and the trim was all called a finger joint. You can see right there is a good spot where the wood is just all joined together. It was the same with all the trim. They're a high-end window, so I'm kind of surprised they used a lot of the finger joint to hold it together, and that stuff just doesn't hold up very well over time. Once we took everything apart, we labeled all the windows themselves so we knew where everything was going to be, took them all apart, disassembled everything, and kept track of where it all went right back together. You can see a lot of it, there wasn't a lot of insulation around the windows either, so we spray foamed when we put everything back together to make it energy efficient, tight around the perimeter. Once we removed the wood storm windows, we scraped the existing windows all down to bare wood the best we could. scraped on along sides, got it all exposed, washed everything down with a trisodium phosphate cleaner, and then we put a oil-based primer with linseed oil onto all the windows. Everything was full primed, same with the eave on that side, not just a spot, and then 2 coats of latex paint. And you can see how we've got it right in through all that. And the bigger areas, these are the wood storm windows. We've took them all off, stripped all the wood down, all the paint down the best we could. It looked like it could have been an older first edition of oil when they were switching oil to a latex or something like that in the 80s. It didn't bond very well at all. All the weather stripping, all the channels, we took them out of all the windows themselves, disassembled all the parts, took it apart. I think there was probably 20 pieces per unit themselves, each one. Washed them all up, scrubbed them all up, put them back in. These windows here, you can see where the rot has started on these here. And again, we cut off 1/4, 3/8 of an inch off all the bottoms of them to get them off the bottom so water can seep out. That's where we've got them all disassembled, coating them, full coat of primer, 2 coats of paint, and then we reinstalled all of the weather stripping back in. One of the causes of the windows allowing the water in was the spring-loaded mechanisms on the bottom of the storm windows themselves. It was an aluminum base. They were 20 years old, so as soon as those thumb turns broke, the window was stuck either up or down, and it was just left as that. Not realizing that if the window's stuck up, the water's just coming right in, sitting behind the sill, and had no place to go but down into the wall cavities. Several of the windows had to be glued, clamped, put back together, and restored in that aspect. Washed everything all up, all the glass, washed it back, put them all back together. On the original, the windows that are in place, these are the cavities and the voids. As we were priming, we'd fill all those areas on the sash, fill it with the oil-based primer and then the 2 coats of paint to just fully saturate the whole thing. So it's a better picture there where the primer, we'd put the primer on, and then as we went through with the latex paint, we'd make sure all those voids were filled, allowing the paint on the glass heavy and then scraping it off later, just so it's got a good bond. This is one of the photos here, and as we were saying, at first I thought we were just going to go up and do a little bit of caulking around the vent pipe, but you can see the cracks almost every 3 feet, these lines right here. The shingles were cracked from the eave all the way up to the ridge, and you can see it all the way through. It's 20 years old. It was time for the roof to change. We installed a Vicor similar to an ice and water shield around all the windows themselves, and then brought the Typar on top of it, and then taped everything in place for energy efficiency and also to keep the moisture out. The same down on the bottom. Any place it was possibly that water was going to get back in, we've got the ice and water shield all behind it. Rainy day work, replacing the sills here. I know we replaced this sill, this one, and this one had already been replaced, and these 2 down here. So almost every sill on this one side had to been replaced. And those are the expensive on the siding and the roof. We broke the roof out one further also. Similar situation on the roof. It was all stapled, so, and again, you can see the staples running parallel with the grain of the plywood, which really isn't the best route to go. The eaves, all the trim, all scraped down, washed with trisodium phosphate, oil primer, and 2 coats of latex paint. And that's some of the cracks you can see going all the way up through, that they'll take all the way through, and the bigger joints there. So it's really hard to tell where the leaks were coming from. Once we stripped it, this is the eave coming up through. We notice there's no ice and water shield or anything on it, which is miraculously, it didn't leak. prior to with any ice dams and stuff. But I think a lot of it was just the amount of sun on that one side and the wind blowing it off. We never really had that much ice dams on that side, so that was beneficial. Same thing with the nailings on the staples, and then we went through and re-nailed it all. Lower roofs, a similar situation there, a little bit of extra nailing. They had the ice and water shield on them already. They had settled quite a bit, so there were some gaps like this. This is on those lower roofs over the doors, and the aluminum flashing, just cracking. Again, you can see how hard the paint had trouble sticking there, and the exposure of water getting right inside. As the rain would drip off the main roof, it's just going to splash on this lower one and get right inside the wall cavities. When we noticed the roof needed to be done, that was kind of beyond the scope of what we originally planned, we called around and got a couple of different quotes. The high number was $475 a square, the low was $313. We ended up doing it for about $254 a square in-house. Benefits were Ted supplying the truck, bringing the stuff up to the landfill, and us just being able to do it hourly on that. This is the layout of the building itself. These are the two lower roofs down here. So this roof here has been changed. This is the library here, the main entrance coming here. As you configure or put your plan together on what's next roofing-wise, this is the area above the two bathrooms and the hallway coming in. Where these valleys are connected to this and connected to that, it almost looks like you have to do all the roofs next time. At least this one side, this area here, and half of the meeting room here. This is the side facing the church. Similar problem you've got over here, and I think we've done some repair on the shingles in this area here, so this is one side you could let set for a few more years if you needed to, I think. Front side here, that's where you've got the valleys coming in, and it's just tying everything together there. You can see the paint where the windows are painted versus the siding themselves. We've tried replacing this light bulb, and it didn't work, so we'll have to figure out what's going on with the lights, why those main lights aren't working now, and just this little one here is. Finished product here, all sided done, up through. Something to be thinking about in the future is this entranceway, this whole area here where it's really steep, it's off at an angle. I think I'd suggest some sort of a retaining wall across the front. You can come in from up here in a ramp type area or a set of stairs off the side and get rid of this whole pitched slippery area there. That'd be a good area to address.
How's the roof on the old, on the library?
It didn't look that bad. I hadn't gotten right down to pull it apart. It wasn't cracked like the others.
So a couple more years will be okay?
I think so. Where those valleys aren't attached, I think that would be if you're trying to do it in pieces. I'd get that, the one side of this building, the other side of the town hall, and the area that connects the two in between. I think this chimney is no longer in use, so if you're not using it, I'd eliminate it too, get rid of it.
Now, when we had the contractor come in and give us the initial bid for the siding before we went to town hall, he said that the roof on the old firehouse is really bad too. We have to do that pretty soon?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're over 20 years, you're really just starting to push it. At least if it's 20 years, you can know to start bidding, setting money aside for it, establish a capital reserve fund and put enough money in it a couple of years, and then any balances would just stay in that and roll right over for building maintenance.
Now, he also wrote us up on the plywood with the type-R on the front. What needs to be done there? Just kind of what you did on the back, clean it all off and then put in ice and water shield or type-R and then put siding up there, or is there more work than that?
Some of the concerns with that building where it's a block building, cement block on a slab-type construction, maybe it's 35 years old or so. I mean, it's had its use for the type of construction that it was. The concern I have is the blocks. You can look right through and see the cracks in different corners. That would be my main concern. But you could probably fill them and fix it and patch it. But I would just add 2x4s to the side of it, styrofoam on the outside of it, and vinyl side the whole thing,
All the way around?
all the way around, because I don't think there's any insulation in the whole building.
Oh, really?
I don't think there's walls inside that are insulated.
Oh, there isn't?
No, so,
Locked inside now.
yeah, so if you had 2x4s, screwed them to the outside on the flat, at least you can get some 1.5 insulation on it, and then vinyl side the whole thing.
Beautiful.
40? Yeah, you hate to say you saw it on the school bus and you start doing the math. It was only, it was only 20, 25, and you start going in it, yeah, it was longer than that. So, painted the pipe up here, got the new boots on, and dressed that whole side up, and this light I know is working. So again, the whole cause of the problem over here was the amount of environmental abuse it takes from the sun and the wind over there, and that these storms were just too tight down to the bottom. It just didn't allow any to breathe.
Beautiful.
Any questions?
Good job, looks nice.
Now, what did you say, you don't know what's wrong with the lights out front?
No. We replaced the bulb. We went and got some new bulbs. We replaced this one on this side here, just because it was convenient. We had the lift, and we had a lot of abuse on that side with pounding on it with the hammers and nails, so we replaced that one. And we would just assume the front, when we replaced those, that would work too, but that didn't do it. So we'll have to contract call the electrician to see if there's an issue.
It's really dark at night,
It is.
or not the front now.
Yeah, and then you have to leave the light on when you leave, and the light's on all day until somebody comes back.
What kind
Yeah.
of bulbs are they?
We had big, huge, I forget the numbers.
Is it like a gas bulb, so that they need a ballast to start them?
I think so.
Yeah,
We-
so it
We've
might just be
saved,
the ballast.
yeah, we've saved the ones we took out, and we marked them. They're down in the closets downstairs, so.
That's great.
So the windows, if you were to continue on, what I'd do is clean up the inside. You can tell they've got a lot of water stain on the insides of the windows. I'd clean those up and put a coat of polyurethane on them, put a little bit of life into those. There's a few that the strings are broke inside, so they're not staying up. You can replace the whole jamb. It's a plastic jamb with some new strings and balances on it. That's something you can do. The other windows that are a problem are the ones in this room here. I don't think any of these stay up that good.
Yeah, they don't stay open
Either.
by themselves.
Yeah, it's similar to a residential vinyl window is what these are in here. Same with the library, looking at those there, and the screens also. I haven't ordered or had the screens replaced yet. I just waiting to make sure we were done, see what the numbers, make sure there's plenty of balance left. Other things to think about, so I think I lost that gable. Is ventilation. There's really no ventilation in these attics. They've got some ridge vents that go through, but I think when you go to do these gables, I'd take these windows out and put big louvers in to allow plenty of ventilation. There's none in the library at all. When we replaced the gas lines, we realized that the furnace needed to be bleeded out in the library, and nobody knew where it was. So eventually, we figured out it was in the attic, nobody knew how to get up there, and it was actually this piece of plywood we had to pop up to get up in there. So it's really not,
That's the only way to get into that?
that's the only way that we found, yeah, to get in readily, and so I'd assume that hasn't been touched for over 20 years. Once they put it in, that was it.
Did he service it when he was up there?
Gas system, not a lot of servicing for him, so he just bled it out. I know he has to get back in there one more time, bleed it out when he hooks it up to the new lines. Other thing to think about too are these back set of stairs here. They're in really bad shape, and I wouldn't advise really using them unless you had to. Probably that roof area one that we were looking at was the one side of this meeting room, the other side of the town hall. It's around 30 square of shingles on that, so you're probably around 11,000 to do the roof on that. And the gable ends, probably around 12,000 each on those, to take care of those two. The tough part, when you're talking vinyl siding, you've got the old library here, is, you know, do you vinyl side this? Do you do a little bit of wood there? It doesn't seem to be blistering as bad as the rest of the building does, but, I mean, similar to the older building here. This is the new addition that was put on, and then this is the old part here, and the new addition's holding up a lot worse than the old building was.
The bottom of that's pretty new siding too, right?
Correct. When they pulled this building together and held it and put the bracing in, they replaced it with some clapboards down in there, some cedar clapboards down through there. So, this is the north side. It's not going to get the direct sun and the constant abuse, but you're going to have the mold issue on this side. And it's one or the other.
So your priority would be roof next year?
I think I'd focus on the roof. Again, this side of the town hall, this valley area, and then this side of the meeting room, because they're all connected, tie them up, and it should be clean and easy enough to get somebody to bid on that, and
And you're saying about 22,000 to do?
the two gables.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may be able to save a little doing them both at the same time by the lift, having the lift there the whole time. They're hard to get into. Once you pull the siding off, we pulled all the trim off the windows and used the PVC trim, all new trim around the whole thing, screwed them all in, put the louver in there, allow the ventilation through. Come down to this roof, re-roof that at the same time, repaint that, clean it all up. The problem comes when you've got the older buildings that you try to keep somewhat historic to tie in with it. But on the, a lot of the vinyl siding guys they love to wrap it with aluminum, which with the amount of detail and corner boards and crown molding on it, burying it in aluminum would have just been too bad. The paint's not peeling on the trim or anything like that, so the eaves and overhangs were perfect to just scrape and prime with a good quality paint, so I don't think we'll have a problem with that blistering. It's just the amount that was this whole general area here and all the trim around the windows, so it's made it through one hurricane.
Yeah.
It's still all there.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Awesome.
Thanks for saving us so much money, too. Okay, action plan reply. We have, an action plan that we have to send back to the insurance company. They had sent out a gentleman in July, I believe, to write up the town as far as things that they thought we needed to fix in order to maintain our insurance. So we have an action plan. This letter is to report what action we have taken in regard to the action plan for safety submitted by Lance Lemieux. In the fitness center, any action taken on the fitness center building will require an appropriation from the town meeting. Selectmen will include a budgeted amount in the 2013-2014 warrant. Library floor supports, proposals were sent out and bid has been accepted for the repair of the library. This will be commenced on January 1st, 2013. Emergency action plan for town offices. A plan for evacuation of the building has been established with a meeting location after evacuation. Periodic practice tests are scheduled, and we did one of those tonight. Repair of the siding of the town office. Siding has been replaced. Monthly fire extinguisher inspection, monthly inspections are being done. Housekeeping in the boiler room has been cleaned out. Enclosed the crawl space has been enclosed. Annual fire extinguisher maintenance, a qualified person has been hired. Cover plate in the APAT room has been replaced. Road commissioners, Selectman Ed Walsh has talked with both road commissioners and instructed them, as well as their employees, to document work zone safety, training, hazard communications training, protective gear equipment training, and create an inventory list of training records to be kept on file. The road commissioners need to develop assessments for all training activities that require protective gear. And we do have a letter from one of the road commissioners that's going to accompany this on his plan to do that, and we will get the letter from the other road commissioner to accompany our letter. Cover plate under the clerk's counter, cover plate has been replaced. Large exit sign with 6-inch high letters and 3/8 stroke thickness have been ordered from Permaline. We hope this report is satisfactory and covers all areas of concern. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the letter as it's written and
Sign it.
sign it.
Seconded.
All in favor? Other business, any of you guys got anything?
Dennis, take that.
Now you're in stereo.
Yes. First off, I'd like to thank the Selectmen and the job that they took on the town hall this year. And Kenny did a wonderful job doing it. I've been one of my pet peeves for about 20 years, the moisture problem, and the paint coming off the town hall, and it seemed to fall on deaf ears for many, many years. And I find it real gratifying for myself that everything that Kenny showed tonight was the exact reasons that I've been given for all these years why there was a problem. Yeah. And I really hope that this board continues to fix up this building, because it's been neglected for so many years. And I think you did a great service to the taxpayers to continue upgrading the building. As you know, we did this room here a few years ago. The insurance company closed it down.
Oh, really?
And we had no choice. They said we couldn't have meetings in anymore because of the foundation. And the people were generous enough to give us the money for that. And we're spending money down to the school and over to the fire department and different things to try to keep ahead of things a little bit. And I really hope that come budget time that we have enough money so that we can continue with this stuff another year. And Kenny made a little comment about the old fire station, the gym. Yeah. There is one thing in my time that I've noticed on the south end of that building, right next to the foundation. You can put a stick down there about 4 feet beside the foundation, so I assume that there must be some kind of a water problem on the south side of that. And back when I was Selectman, we had talked about taking a little backhoe and digging that up and just see what in the devil was down there, so that we didn't throw money onto a building that didn't have no legs under it. But that's just a little bit of information, and it may be a very simple fix. But it is something I'd like to have you look at, just because, and hopefully we'll have some money to look at in the budget process, so that being a Warrant Finance Committee member, I'll expect to see it, and just so you know that you'll have my support.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
I think what our plan will be is to do what we did this year and ask the town to let us carry forward anything that's left in the maintenance budget. We've decided to stop doing any major projects now until after we finish the library and make sure we have enough money left, but we'll ask to carry forward anything that's left in the maintenance budget and then keep the maintenance budget at the 25,000 that you had set it at. And it worked very well for us this year because I think we had, what was it, 14,000 left over last year that we carried forward? Yeah, so that gave us $39,000 to work on the building with this year, and we were able to have Kenny do all that work there, and then we'll be able to have the library floor fixed too, so that the insurance company doesn't do what they did to you and close the library down like they did the town hall, so, but thank you. Anybody else? Okay, announcements. There are 3 vacancies on the Mary Grant Committee. There's 1 road committee member that we need somebody to volunteer for. We need an alternate member of the Saco River Corridor Commission, and we need 2 alternate warrant and finance committee members. So if anybody's interested in any of those positions, please come and see Lorraine and give her your name. We'd love to have somebody come and volunteer for these committees. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to know who resigned from the road committee.
It was right at the beginning of the year. We haven't filled it yet.
Oh, it's still the same?
Yeah, so since the beginning of the, no, it was somebody that road committee has voted in, right? So it was somebody that was voted in on the town floor and didn't take it.
David Cody.
David Cody. Okay. I do have another announcement. We did interviews for sheriff's deputy on Tuesday. They initially had 5 candidates for us, but on Saturday, one of the candidates didn't pass the physical test, so he was not brought forward, and another candidate was a no-show for the physical test, so they didn't bring him forward. So we interviewed 3 candidates. All 3 of them are currently working for town police departments. 2 of the 3 are veterans that had been in either Iraq or Afghanistan. We have picked with the selectmen from Shapley and 2 members of the sheriff's department, plus a 3rd member of the sheriff's department that was in charge of the interview. So there was 7 of us interviewing. They gave us a list of about 70 questions, and we each picked 2 and asked each candidate 2 questions. We picked 2 out of the 3 because if we had definitely wanted to pick 1, they still had 2 more steps in the process that they had to go through, and if that candidate we picked didn't pass, then we'd have to start all over again. So we took 2 out of the 3. The next step is they are going to go through a polygraph test, a psychological evaluation test, and then an interview with Sheriff Follett. And then he will come back to the Selectmen in Shapley and Acton and let us know what his suggestion is based on the 2, or if there's only 1 left, he'll let us know. And that deputy will be on board in the town of Acton on January 1st. The cruiser is here, and we'll be ready to go. Both candidates I was very impressed with. I think we could work with either one. I did have a preference a little bit towards one than the other, but that was my personal preference, and I don't know what the others have thought about it, because we haven't pooled ourselves on that because we're waiting to see what happens when they go through the next step. So I was very impressed with the process. I was very impressed with the candidates and the excitement in the Sheriff's Department to have this and be able to serve Acton and Shapley better by having an officer here 40 hours a week, plus having actually 24/7 coverage because they're going to take us off the rotation with the state police. So if the state police are in town, they were just in doing their traffic thing, they won't be in charge, be on call for Acton for 1 month, every other month. So we'll actually have a 24-hour-a-day deputy in our area because we allowed them to have, by taking Shapley and Acton, they don't have to have, they've got an extra deputy that they can leave here for the odd shifts when the other gentleman isn't here. But very impressive young men, so I look forward to working with them. If there's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor? Thank you.